What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Punk Rock Radar. Today, I've got a very special guest. We have Johnny from Cat's Claw Records joining us today. We're going to talk about how he came up with Cat's Claw, some of the stuff he's learned along the way, some of the bands he's worked with. Then we're going to get into how Johnny and I have been working together over the past year, what bands we've put out. And then we're going to move into what is planned for the future. And all along the way, I'm going to be playing you clips of the bands we're talking about. And as a special promo for this episode, Johnny and I are both offering 30% off everything in our web store. So if you hear a band during the show that you like, there's going to be a link down below to support us, support the band, and help us continue to put out some underground punk rock music, because that's what this channel is all about. So Johnny, with that out of the way, how you doing today, man? It is like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So thanks for joining me.
No worries. Yeah, I'm awesome. Thank you again for getting me in your show. Much appreciated.
Yeah. So we've been talking about doing this now for two months. I think I had Johnny on when we did the No Use for a Name tier list. And, we've been working together since I think the first project was like late November last year. The wheels started turning, so nearly a year.
Yeah.
We've been talking about getting together and doing this show. So, Johnny, what I'd like to do first is just talk about the label and how it all came together. You've amassed like 30, 40 bands already, so I'm sure you have some cool stories and stuff. But what made you want to start Cat's Claw Records?
Yeah, so like most things, the way my brain works, I come up, ideas are constantly popping in there. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way. Like I'd say 90% of them are terrible, but occasionally something comes up. So it was during lockdown probably the same as it was in the States, during the pandemic. We had a couple of lockdowns, so it was sort of towards the start of it, 2019. Now, I come from a background like yourself, John, playing in bands and stuff. And it's become harder and harder to do it. My last band stopped doing, and I love punk rock like you do. And I wanted to carry on doing something. I didn't have a band to sort of like put forward, all my ideas and sort of the passion of music, that kind of thing. So I thought, could I start a label? And it's always been something in the back of my head. I think you've mentioned it before. You've always wanted to start a label, but it's kind of the doing side of it. So if anyone's been following the label, from any stage at all, they kind of realize where I've sort of come to where I am sort of now. But if you've never heard of Cat's Claw Records, I started off as a tape cassette label. There wasn't really anyone sort of doing tapes for that kind of music. Some of the bigger labels, you'd probably look at Epitaph or Fat or whatever, they were doing it. But there wasn't really anyone doing sort of the sort of smaller bands. So I thought I could do something. This would be almost like a little, I guess, a gap in the kind of market. And it's, there's so many labels out there, as everyone listening will know. So being a small independent label is quite difficult, to sort of get your name out there. So I was also coming up to my 40th birthday. So you call it a midlife crisis if you want to do that. Some dudes like build man caves and buy Harley Davidsons and whatever, or buy big sports cars. But, I'm skin and I can't drive. So that didn't happen. So I started a label with tapes, and it was the first release was I'm really good friends with Tom from Red Light Rebels. My previous band, I was in a previous band with him, and I've known him for years. So I was like, would you like to be involved? And he's like, yeah, cool. And I knew him and Bottle Kids were quite matey. So I sort of messaged Bottle Kids and said, do you guys fancy doing a split with Red Light Rebels on tape? And I think probably initially they were both like, he wants to put something out on tape cassette. What is he thinking? But I did it, and I put the idea through and worked it out and got it done. And then it just kind of went from there. Like the first couple of years, well, I'd say first year it started in, I think, July 2019. So that particular year, I think I did a couple of releases, possibly. I can't remember the exact dates, but the year after, I was pretty much releasing like a tape every 4 weeks. So it's just a massive blur. So of sort of time. So I've released loads and loads and loads. And then eventually I'd been thinking about doing vinyl releases for a while. But it's for anyone like any sort of labels who listen to this show, or anyone who, you know, thinks about vinyl and think, oh, it's really expensive to buy it now, it's gone up in price. It's really pricey to do. And it's quite a commitment from moving from tape cassettes, which are dead cheap in comparison to vinyl. So it's like a big push. But I did it. I released a Lave record, which is like kind of like those almost like old school white label things, which like old school hip hop DJs would have. And that's what like it's done on like a special diamond cutting machine. And then it just went from there, basically. So yeah, it started off as I probably dreamt it or something ridiculous like that. I had a dream about starting a label, and then I woke up in the morning and said, oh, that'd be a good idea. And, 3 years later, I'm still doing it.
Yeah, dude, the way you came out, all those, and I've talked to a lot of people who think this too. Like when I talk to people and I say, I'm working with Cat's Claw, they're like, man, I've been wanting to work with him. Every single band he puts out is awesome. And then look how you started with those two bands. Like I've said it on the show quite a few times, like Bottle Kids is one of my favorite newer punk bands. So in the beginning, was it mostly like local-ish bands that you knew, or like from the very start, were you reaching out to bands you didn't know to put out stuff?
I was literally reaching out to bands I didn't know. Obviously the first bands I had the connection with, I didn't at the time. I didn't know the guys from Bottle Kids at all. I knew of them and the bands that sort of like, they played in before, but I didn't really know them. But it was, it's handy. I've known Tom for like, 12, 13, 14 years. I don't know. My time scales of everything is rubbish, but a long time. So that was easy. Cause like, it's a mate, isn't it? You can go, hey, dude, you want to put your band out on my rubbish, small, tiny label, which may come to nothing. It might be the only release that we ever do as a label, but do you want to do it? And then I can say I've done it. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. But everyone else, it's for me at the start initially, it's a matter of being cheeky. I don't really have a fear of messaging a band that I like and say, dudes, I really like your music. I run a tape label. Do you want to put it out? And I think running a tape label was massively a massive advantage to me, because a lot of these bands were releasing stuff on vinyl anyway, and they had bigger labels like Bracket, for example. They're on Fat Records. They weren't on Fat Records at that particular time. They were sort of putting stuff out on other independents, but they were a big band. But going to them and saying, oh, do you want to do a tape release? No one was doing tape releases for them. I'm like, well, that's something different, isn't it? So, and I've been massively lucky, I think, because I've messaged bands along the way, and they're like, this is really weird. Like, we are just in the studio at the moment, and we were looking to be releasing stuff. You've timed this absolutely perfect. So, I don't know. Something is going in my favor along the way. So, yeah, just contacting bands. And as the thing is, the more you release and the name gets out there, I mean, I am under no impression that, outside our sort of, initial kind of punk rock, pop punk, melodic punk, skate punk, whatever community, a small percentage of that knows who my label is, who Cat's Claw Record is. But, it's still, the name gets to a certain percentage of people, then bands will send you stuff. And you can't release everyone that sends stuff to you, even if you dig it. It's just not possible. But out of that, I've found some incredible bands which I probably would have never have heard of, probably similar to you, doing Punk Rock Radar. You clearly are someone who, I mean this in a positive way, consume a lot of music and love it. But doing the podcast, and now the label, is likely you probably hear way more music than you would have done if you were just literally not doing this, but just doing your normal job. And you'd probably hear bands, of course you would, but you probably have to actively go out there and listen to loads of fresh music, and it opens your eyes up, doesn't it? And you go in these little sort of loops, don't you, of like, you listen to one band and you sort of look them up and you're like, oh, they used to be in this band. So you then look that band up and you go, oh, they're on that label. Oh, I'll check that label out. And then you check the bands out. And then, we live in a world now, don't we, where music's so easy to find. It's never been so easy.
Dude, you're so right about that. I want to see if this happened to you too. So when I started Punk Rock Radar, I was like combing through everything. I would spend time, like if a band had sent me something in the beginning, I would sit down and I listened to like the entire album. But then, as like the years got, go on and, Punk Rock Radar got bigger, Cat's Claws got bigger. Now, if I get sent something, I don't know what happened to me. Like if I can't get through like 15, 20 seconds of it, I'm like, all right, it's next. It's just the volume, like you were saying. I just like, I used to really go out and find the label and I can't do it anymore with all the stuff going on. I'd really just, if I know it, or if somebody's going to send it to me. So I have two questions for you. And you mentioned the first one already, so I want to piggyback on it. Bracket is one of my favorite bands, dude. I love Bracket. And when I saw that it was Requiem, right, that you put out?
Yeah.
When I saw that you had got Requiem, I was like, holy shit, he's got Bracket now. So I'm curious, like, I know you just said you messaged them, but I'm curious how that came about, like not only to get Bracket, but like how did you guys end up on that album? I think it was Takeover Records that originally put that out.
Yeah.
So how did you guys like end up deciding to put out Requiem on tape?
Yeah, so they went through a stage of re-releasing loads of their old stuff, which wasn't on Fat Records, because I don't know, there's probably a certain percentage of people who maybe don't know Bracket that well, that maybe they don't know their songs from the Fat comps, because for whatever reason, I think maybe because they didn't tour as much as the other Fat bands, they didn't really get, people probably don't know them quite as well, unfortunately. And, I always describe them to people. If someone's like, describe Bracket to me, I'll be like, well, they're kind of like the punk rock Beach Boys. That's why I always see them, even if you don't like the Beach Boys at all, it's just the harmonies are just superb. So yeah, they had been releasing stuff through Spam Records, SBAM, or I'm never sure how it's
I'm glad
pronounced.
you don't know either. We don't know how to say it. We mentioned it like 100 times.
I'm sure it's Spam. It's funny because that's there's a I don't know if you got it in the States, but there's like this horrible processed meat.
Yeah.
Which was around massively during like the war, because it was just Second World War kind of thing, whenever, because people couldn't, the rations and all that kind of stuff. And it just carried on. And it's just this pink kind of processed stuff in a tin. And so that's what I always think of. But obviously not. It's I found out later that it's based on the Stefan, I can't remember what his surname is, but it begins with a B, but it's based on his name basically. So they were doing stuff for them. And I saw that they were sort of going to be released stuff. So I just, I messaged, I was friends with Angelo, one of their singer guitarists, on Facebook, so I just messaged him and said, look, I run this label, Cat's Claw Records. Would you be interested in releasing anything on my label? I do appreciate you won't be able to put any of the Fat stuff on there, because I imagine Fat Mike would probably go no.
Yeah.
He might, but he probably would say no. But he said, he was like, yeah, we are actually bizarrely in talks about releasing Requiem, and we're going to invite him. I went, oh, okay, could I do the tape? And he was like, yeah, that's fine. And he's the nicest dude, so it makes it easy. We were talking before we started recording this. We were talking about like it's always great to work with kind of like people who are kind of on the same page as you and just like chilled and relaxed. It just makes the whole process of releasing stuff. You want to work with good people, don't you? That's what it is. You want to work with people who are like really nice to talk to and like chilled people. So he's the most chilled dude ever, and he's like, yeah, cool. I would be more, yeah, let's do it. And a bit of a dream come true. Because it's one of my earlier releases, and I was like, oh my god, I'm working with Bracket, and I love Bracket. I've liked Bracket since like the early 90s. And you sort of never imagine when you start a label you'd be working with like a band like that. So that was really good. And yeah, it was simple. It was just really, it was literally, it seemed like it would be this really complicated thing working with like what I consider to be kind of one of the kind of godfathers of like melodic kind of pop punk kind of thing. But he was just like, yeah, cool. Here's the tracks. Here's the artwork. Yeah. And then that was it. And I just, simple. And it was like no contract or anything, just literally like talking to each other over social media. And and we released it. So it's really cool.
That's amazing. So you guys watching out there, follow your dreams, man. And Johnny, you got to get your hands on 4-Wheel Vibe. Like just I feel like if 4-Wheel Vibe had come out on Fat, like, right when like Haas and I'm drawing a blank now, but I feel like that would have been the one. Like that has like the most of that 90s sound to me. I was just listening to the CD before, but I think that's been out of print for quite a while, but there you go.
I may have it slightly wrong, but I'm pretty sure that one was on like a major. I think it was on like an offshoot of Virgin.
It's Caroline Records.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was. It was one of those releases around that time. It was released on like a major, and I think there's like a record which came out, I think, just after that, and it was never released. They recorded it and it was never released, so that's out there somewhere. I would love to do that, but I think it's probably like locked down with so much like lawyer paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably not even owned by them or whatever, so it's really difficult to sort of get it out there. But
I think they have it on their Bandcamp now, but I mean, I don't know if the labels know or what, but yeah, dude, yeah, that's such a cool release. So if we eliminate them from the situation, and I know this is going to be a hard question, it's like picking like a child, what would you say has been your favorite release? Either musically or the way it came out, like anything, just a release in general that you've like really enjoyed working on.
Oh God. I mean, I would probably not want to pick a particular band because probably not fair on the band. They'd be like, hey, why did he pick them? What did we do wrong? I mean, all of them I've really enjoyed for different reasons. Some of them have been more difficult than others for various reasons, and haven't kind of gone according to plan. But running a label, it doesn't go. It's like when people say, "Oh, you play in a band," and they just see all the positives of playing in a band, but there's so much which goes with it. Same as running a label, which is quite difficult and stressful. But I mean, I guess the first sort of vinyl release I released was Making Friends with Shackleford, just because it's a really cool title,
perfect.
And they're both awesome bands. And that was the first vinyl thing I released. That was on the one that was on the Lave vinyl thing, which I mentioned earlier. So that was cool, and I think I enjoyed that for the reason was they're both awesome bands. And everyone, and if any of bands who I've released are listening, I think you're all awesome. None of you, you're all my favourite children. Like going to your reference a moment ago, all my favourite band children. Obviously, my own child is my favourite child, but in band children, they're all my favourite bands. So that was really good, and it was a massive learning curve because it was a big worry because I hadn't released anything on vinyl before. And it was just a whole process and working out how you do it. And it's very different to releasing tapes to records. It's got a similar principle. You're doing the same kind of work, but there's more involved with it, and it's a bit more tricky in different ways. So that was really that was an awesome release. And it's nice to see those, like any of the bands I release, not necessarily just because of me, but moving onwards and upwards. And you can, like, Making Friends and Shackleford are both doing loads and gigging tons and in talks. And they're very closely connected now. Like, they talk to each other a lot and they organise gigs together. And that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to do the record labels kind of like a community. I'm releasing it and I'm not doing it because I want to make loads of money, because, in the nicest possible way, it's, if you're releasing kind of the music that we both release, you're probably doing it because you love the music rather than wanting to make loads of money, because it's tricky to do unless you're like a much larger label doing loads and loads of records. But since I put the split together, they've been talking together and they've been playing gigs together and they chat and they seem, they're quite good. Like, they seem like really good pals now, which is really, really nice to see. So, it's given that connection. So that was really, really cool. And yeah, just every release has been awesome in one way or particular.
Yeah, I think you did it the right way, man. Like when I did a couple tapes, when I did Baxter and Weekend Cigarettes, like I couldn't believe how much easier it was. Just like, you send the masters, you do a quick art, and then you have the tapes in like 4 weeks. And then with vinyl, you really need those training wheels on, like to do a CD or a tape first, just to kind of get your bearings straight and everything. So I was lucky to have you walking me through the first one we did, the Looking Martians and the Cheap Pops, which, dude, that was so fun. I love that they came like unassembled. I had such a good time like putting those all together and everything. It was like such a cool way to like start. So that's been one of my favorites we've done together. But
definitely, that was awesome.
I want to start talking about what we've done together. Start getting into the bands, and then we're gonna talk. We've got at least 2 announcements we're gonna make. So, guys, make sure you stay tuned. We've got some good stuff coming. The first one I want to talk about is related to Looking Martians and the Cheap Pops. This is the Astronuts. This was supposed to be our second release. It had the art redone. I by the time that we got this, it was like a late Christmas present showing up on my door when it came. And I was listening to this the other day and I was like, God damn, like this is such a good album. And I think it came out a couple of years ago. I let Dylan hear it and he's like, dude, I never heard of these guys. They're awesome. So I wanted to see if you can tell the people at home like a little bit about these guys. We've got the vinyl on 2 different colors. The art is kick ass. So yeah, tell us about the Astronuts a little bit.
Yeah. So, I'd been speaking to Sid, which is a singer from Astronuts, for a while. As you said, we did the split with Cheap Pops. And yeah, he just sort of messaged me. I got this other band as well. Would you be interested in it? And he sent it across to me. It's like, oh my God, this is great. So I would describe it as it's fast melodic skate punk. So, No Use for a Name, sort of Millencolin kind of thing.
Yes.
A bit gruffer in places, so like sort of almost Red City Radio kind of feel towards it. This is the sort of influences you can hear from it. But yeah, they're from Germany, and yeah, they're just a great band, and they're just good people, and they want to get out there and play. And so, anyone out there, give them a listen, book them to play. You won't regret it. But yeah, it's a great record, and as you said, it comes in 2 different colors as well. I know people like fancy colors and all that with their records. So we got like the smoky kind of like red, it's like red with like loads of smoke going on, like, and just a kind of a maroon kind of colored one. But yeah, I agree with you. It's a great record. People just need to go and buy it.
Yeah, it's funny you said Millencolin. That's what I thought of when I first heard it. It reminds me of like Kingwood or Home from Home era Millencolin. So
definitely.
I'm gonna play a clip now of Astronauts. If you guys like it, even if you don't like it, go follow the band, and we'll have links to buy the album from me in the US, or Johnny if you're over in Europe or anywhere else. So yeah, here's a clip. Let us know what you think. All right, so the next band I want to talk about is another one we have in hand. This is Toska Fall, and they put out an EP, A Little Advice. This is another one, dude. Like when I first heard that single, when you sent it to me, I was like, hell yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, right. It's so good. Yeah,
it's another one where everyone I've shown it to is like, I've heard the name Toska Fall, but like I didn't know they were this good. And
the thing is, I'd heard the name before. I even released it, and I was like, they sort of sent me. I was like, wow, because I'd heard like the previous EP, because of like, for people who haven't checked out the record, it's got the new EP and their previous one on the same record, so you basically get both for like on one record, which is really cool. But yeah, they're great. So I mean, I don't know how I would sort of describe them, John. I don't know about you, but it's kind of got like that traditional kind of 90s kind of punk rock sound to it. Little bit metally almost in places, but not metal like strung out metal, just to kind of some of the guitars sound a little bit like that, but just really nice like harmonies, like I guess a little bit Strike Anywhere, maybe sort of like to the sound. But they're great. I mean, they're like what I go for on any of my releases. When people sending me stuff, I'm listening. I want it. I am a fan of big hooks, like and catchy, because I've raised on punk rock since when Dookie came out was one of my what I kind of got me into it, and obviously that's got the biggest hooks ever, and like the first listen on that it's in your head, and that's what I listen out for on the records. I'm like, I like the vocals and the harmonies and all that are really important to me. But with the Toska Fall one, it's just instantly catchy. You kind of you feel yourself just humming it, and it just gets stuck in your head, which is always awesome. But yeah, it's a great record. Yeah, see, my comparison, I don't know if you know the first Near Miss album, which was ex-members of Bigwig. I can hear a lot of that in their sound, and I guess even Bigwig is kind of like a less metal strung out. So we're on the same page there. So they have a music video. I'm going to play a clip of it. This is the song that got me hooked. So again, I'm going to have a link down below. If you like it, make sure and follow the band. There'll be a link to do that also down below. So here's a clip of Toska Fall.
All right. So up next, depending on how closely you follow us, you may or may not know that we announced this. I had mentioned it on the Signal Chords podcast with Brad. This is an upcoming split. It's the second one in our split series. It's going to be Old Chase and the Upshot. So Johnny, we've been working on this one for 2 months now. We're in the late stages of production. So why don't you go ahead and tell us where we are, how you found these guys, any other tidbits you have for the upcoming split series number 2 with both of these bands.
Yeah, totally. So going on what John said, this is something that we are really passionate doing, like 12-inch splits. Because I don't know, I just think it's really, really cool because you just get to hear 2 awesome bands, and you get like, rather than like a 7-inch where you like get a song or 2 songs each side, this is you pretty much get like a whole EP on both sides. So this is something we are looking into doing like for as long as we do it. A bit like who was that American label?
BYO did it.
Yeah, they did they did that one with Francis and NoFX and loads of other cool ones, didn't they?
Those were amazing.
They've done so many cool ones. This one is 2 bands, Old Chase and the Upshot. So initially it came from the Upshot. So I think they messaged me and you pretty much the same time.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure with the Upshot, I messaged you and went, dude, have you heard this band? And you were like, I was about to message you and say, dude, have you heard this band? So we got like sent a single, I think, at the time. So they were in the process of I think they were recording slowly, but they sort of released something and mastered it. I actually put in the chat thing for Old Chase. I'd heard of Old Chase, but I put in the chat thing I had with Making Friends and Shackleford, like WhatsApp chat thing I had. Like I know it's my job to do this. I know I should be the one looking for bands, but is there any cool bands that you guys, gig or tour with that you think would be interesting to split? And I think a couple of members like, Old Chase, yeah, cool. Bill from Making Friends, his girlfriend plays bass guitar in Old Chase, and they gig around quite a lot together. So I was like, oh, wicked. So I sent you the stuff and you were like, oh yeah, this will work perfectly. And I think they contrast each other really, really well. If you listen to like once, it's fully out there, in which we're going to play there's lots of, John will play like an Upshot song, hopefully, and an Old Chase song. But the Old Chase one will be an exclusive. You won't hear it anywhere else until it's released. So, yeah, it just means you need to watch this podcast 100 times so you can hear it loads of times. And the Upshot, I've got 3 tracks out already, but, we'll put something on there so you can then listen to it and then go and check it out. But, yeah, as you said, that's in the, that's getting towards the end of, like, what we need to do in it, and then sent off to the pressing plant. But it's an exciting one. I think it's going to be great. I think everyone's going to love it. To do a little description of the bands, I've not done many descriptions on some of the other ones because they're like the blurb's really long, but Old Chase and the Upshot are really simple. So they've said skate punk for those blessed with a short attention span from London and Brighton. So super fast, sort of skate punk. Most of the songs are like 45 seconds a minute long. Upshot, they describe themselves as okay music of a punk rock variety, but I have added to it when I've put the stuff on my website. I would say more kick-ass melodic punk, total Fat Wreck 90s melodic punk goodness. So, if they don't want to big themselves up, I'm going to do it because they're awesome.
Yeah, I see. I heard of Upshot the exact same way as you, and that story is exactly how I remember it. And then with Old Chase, I just saw on Making Friends posted the album in their story, the first EP. So like I just checked it out, and I think I posted the song the next day because I was really into it. So that's one I'm
Yeah.
super excited to put that out. Those are two kick-ass bands, super nice. So yeah, like Johnny said, I'm gonna play a clip of both, and the Old Chase is an exclusive. So get your phones and record it. Or don't do that, actually. Just wait for it to come out. But here's a clip of both. There'll be links to follow both of the bands. We're gonna have a pre-order probably soon, not yet, but for the meantime, just go follow the bands so you can get updates on when this Badass Split number 2 is coming out.
Are we fighting over nothing? No, I don't care that much. There are millions of people who would say we finally run out of luck. Damage control. When they won't hear what you say, there will be no difference. I'm 1,000 miles away, and I can't hear nothing at all. Beyond control, we should be fucking proud. The world is not allowed to instill fear in us. Out here, we are our only friends until the bitter ends. Detoxstaycation, killing enzymes. Set on our hands to numb the senses and save the downtime. Psychosomatic, in a panic. Balance the mind with alcohol and sugary highs. My lights have come down without a high, and if I think too hard I'll cry. When all I wanna do is hug a friend, it's not even a friend. Ever since the 81, all I've ever done is run, and now it's taking everything within me just to stumble up. What have I become?
All right, so the next one we're going to talk about, we've been teasing this for 3 months. I want to say a while. It is out in the open. We are dangerously close to the pre-order. We've got half a dozen labels attached to this one, and there's a reason for that. Everybody that hears this album can hear what Johnny and I can hear, that it is special. It is amazing. And I'm talking about Making Friends, their new album, Fine Dying, which we're hoping we get out, and we should get it out in early fall. So, Johnny, this is the band that made me, I was picking up your stuff from I think from 2019, 2020 on, but this is the one that I messaged you and I said, I love every band you're putting out. If you need someone in the US to work with or to do distro or whatever, you got my contact information. I'm here. I think it was, I don't remember if it was, I think it was Bonk that I reached out to you on, and I've been a huge fan of these guys ever since. And I'm just so thrilled to be able to put this out with you. I think if you guys haven't heard Making Friends before, you're going to have a new favorite band by the time this episode is over. But Johnny, what do you have to say about how this band, I know you've been working with them for 3 years now, either the band, the album, anything about these dudes you want to share?
Yeah, so this is another one where I just heard them randomly. I can't even remember where I heard them, but I heard a song and I reached out to them and said, do you want to release something on a tape label? They were like, yeah, wicked. So I released their first couple of EPs on tape, and their split with Shackleford on the Lathe vinyl. And this new record, I mean, they're the best band. They're super fast melodic punk, so total 90s kind of like Fat Record vibe. But I don't know of your listeners, people who are familiar with the UK band from Watford, Captain Everything, but they've totally got that sound going on, like incredibly fast, kind of like sort of skate punk. I mean, they've started writing songs which aren't like 30 seconds now, because all their early stuff was awesome, super awesome, but very, very quick. But yeah, so they've kind of progressed into slightly longer songs, but interesting from start to finish. Super engaging. You were saying about the all the labels involved. Like I managed to get like P Records from Australia involved on this, who I've been following as a record label for years.
Yeah.
And you were saying about how good it is, but if anyone was to go to the P Records website and go to the demo submission section of it, which I randomly looked at the other day, it says, how do we send you our music? And it just says, I won't quote it exactly, but it effectively says, don't send us your music. We're full up on our roster. We don't need any more bands, but thanks anyway. So getting them involved with it is pretty incredible, really. And sort of all the sort of labels of. I personally think it's going to be. I think everything there's a fair bit that me and John are releasing together through our labels this year, and all of it's great. And I'll probably say this, with some of the other ones as well, but it's going to be right at the top of most people's release lists for this year, 100%. I will be so surprised. Anyone, message me if you listen to it and you're like, I don't dig it, because I'll argue with you, because it's incredible. So yeah, it's really, really good. It's so catchy, isn't it? I mean, you can hear some of the tracks already. A few of the tracks on Spotify and however you consume music digitally. But yeah, really, really great. And they're good dudes as well, which is nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, we both, if we didn't sell you on it, I'm going to play the clip now. Just get ready to click the link down below and give you guys a follow. Like I said, we're going to have the pre-order very, very soon. So make sure you're following the band to get that update. And no matter where you are in the world, you're going to have an avenue to buy this, because everybody wants to be a part of it, because it kicks ass, kick-ass dudes. Here's a clip coming up right now. All right, and announcement number 1 is coming right now. I don't think this is out there anywhere.
No, it's not. I'm pretty sure
this is going to be exclusive announcement. The next band we're going to talk about is Fight Back Mountain, who is going to be the first American band that I've worked with, funny enough. And we're going to put out an EP on cassette called Backslider. They're already in production, so pre-order is going to be very soon. And this is another one where I had bought the first one from Johnny, and when he messaged me, I didn't even listen to it. I just said I was working, and I said, "Yep," that's it. Like,
it was so quick. I sent it to you and went, "Would you be interested in this?" I've mentioned that, because they'd messaged me and went, "Hey dude, you've released the first one. We really like the tapes and we were really happy with it." Which is super nice when bands are happy that they contact you again. I run the way my loose contracts run is it's a release at a time, and if I want to work with the band again, they want to work with me, we talk, and if we're both happy, it happens. So it's always nice when they want to release the second one. But they messaged me, and I said, I'm going to contact John from Punk Rock Radar Records. He will love this, I'm sure. Then you get we'll get it released where you are in the States, and get it released sort of UK, and they're like wicked. And yeah, I sent it to you, and I think it was a minute later. And we got crazy time differences between us as well. Yeah. Well, not crazy. It's about 4 or 5 hours, is it?
5 hours.
5 hours, yeah. So you were like, yeah, Great, let's do it. It was quick. But yeah, you've since listened to it. And thankfully, you still love it and want to be involved. So that's good.
So like people are into it. I'm going to play a music video now from the album and probably pre-order. I don't know. We haven't talked about it. It'll be very soon. But in the meantime, make sure you're following the band. I'll have their link down below and check out their other stuff on their Bandcamp. There'll be a link for that as well. And this is coming soon, probably in the next, what do we say, 2 months. It'll be out within 2 months. So make sure you're following, check everything out.
I've been waiting on a Doomsday to make everyone the same. It's too late for your half-measure. Wash them away with tidal waves. World is yours, so take it forever. Used to be yours, but never again. We'll have whatever's left over. Lost soul, searching for closure in vain.
All right, so the very last band we're going to talk about here, Johnny, I'm just going to pass it to you so I don't let anything slip. This is a pre-announcement. This is the first. I guarantee this is the first you're hearing about this. So, Johnny, why don't you tell them whatever we can as it is today on August 12th?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So we can't go into great detail about this, but Modern Shakes from London, like really awesome, sort of heartfelt, like melodic punk rock, are releasing a new album later this year. They got a new single coming out super soon, which is awesome. They will be releasing an album on vinyl. There will be some labels releasing it. You take from that what you want to do, but it might be labels that I don't know that you possibly have recently heard of, or or not. Who knows? But keep an eye on. Go to Modern Shakes. Follow them on Facebook, Instagram, blah 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 blah, whatever. And follow both of us if you're not already. And you'll hear updates soon.
All right. And I'm gonna play I've got the other tape that Johnny put out. I'm gonna play my favorite song on there, which is Spinning in Circles, just to get the blood pumping a little bit, just to build the little hype. So let us know what you think of the song, guys. Here it is, and make sure you're following the bands everywhere you can so you get updates. So you get the full announcement. You only got the pre-announcement. So follow the bands for the full one.
You can taste the ash and dust in the back of your throat. My soul's eroded, I'm in locomotion. There's my reflection staring back at me. I stroll and scroll along Embankment Bridge home to avoid incoming traffic. While we move in opposite directions, we die stuck on the beat. I can feel myself spinning in circles. My shadow staring back at me.
All right, so that was the last clip we're gonna play. So we got a nice extended discussion here with Johnny from Cat's Claw Records. If you like what you hear, make sure you're following Johnny everywhere because he puts out the best stuff. That's the reason I'm working with him on all these, because every single thing he puts out is awesome. So, Johnny, anything else that we didn't talk about that you'd like to mention before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, I mean, you've mentioned it towards the beginning, but just to push it forward, we are both doing a 30% sale. We just want to release loads of amazing music for you, and we want to get the best bands we possibly can out to you so you hear them and the world hears them. So we're running this sale to raise a bit of money for future releases. and because we're super nice and we want to give you all like a bargain. Yeah, links in the bottom. It will be on all our social media anyway. We're both going to set our sites to like the price itself, and then you put the code and get the thing. But by all means, this is no pressure to do so. But if you want to chuck, an extra like £1 or an extra $1 on the order, you'll still get your 30% off. But everything helps small labels. But by all means, there's no pressure to do that at all. There's stuff me and John can't mention, but we work together on sort of most of our releases now. So there's going to be so much good stuff coming out. Literally, you're all going to be super stoked with it. So get involved. You'll see the labels in couple years time and go, oh, why didn't I collect those early ones? And they're all on Discord for like £5,000.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So yeah, you should totally pick them up now. And merch as well. John's got some killer t-shirts, which I'm presuming you might have some still in stock. I could see it up on your website.
Yeah.
And other stuff. So pick some merch up. And most importantly, all the bands we mention and all the bands that are on our websites, which we might have not mentioned, like older releases and stuff, go and follow the bands. Go and buy their stuff. Go and watch them live. Go and buy them a drink if you see them in a venue. Like this is bands. Most bands do it because they love what they're doing, and they don't do it. They're all working full-time jobs and stuff, and trying to get by. So, go up and buy their stuff. It helps put fuel in their tanks and gets them to their next gig, and it means that they can carry on doing what they're doing. So support independent music and support independent labels is what I would say.
Well said, man. That was beautiful at the end there. So yeah, like he said, there's going to be a code CATS13 to get your 30% discount on everything in our store. Great time to support a couple small labels and some kick-ass bands, and we've got a lot of cool shit in the works. So keep your eyes peeled. And as always, thank you so much for watching this video. Lots of cool stuff on the channel coming up soon too. So make sure you're subscribed, like the video, comment, and new thing, join the Discord. If you're in a band, if you like new music, then paste it in the Discord. We're growing in members there. I'm taking suggestions for videos. I'm taking suggestions for posts. So yeah, head over there. There'll be a link. There's going to be like 1,000 links down below, but one of them will be the Discord. So click that. And as always, thanks for watching, and we will see you all next time.